welcome to the Ski Racing Podcast Extra with me and Drake. Back again is ski expert Tord Nilson. Tord, welcome back.
Thanks.
We were supposed to have a double Super G in San Moritz for the women, as well as the double GS that was in Santa Catarina for the men that had already been moved from Val d'Isère due to lack of snow. But the first of the winter storms rolled in for this winter, and the women's event in San Moritz had to be cancelled for safety reasons, which was a real shame. So no ladies' events this weekend. But we did manage to get the men's giant slaloms off this weekend. We raced Saturday, and the race that was supposed to be on Sunday was actually moved to today, which is Monday, again due to the snow rolling in. So thankfully we got some racing underway.
Absolutely. Now, let's tackle that kind of question straight away, the postponement from the Saturday to the Sunday.
Yeah.
Explain why would it be? It's obviously not just the weather. It's not just the light.
Yeah.
There's aspects with the snow. Is it the preparation? What? Explain to everyone watching kind of what goes into that as an ex-racer yourself.
Well, the snow, obviously, if you didn't see it, you will see it shortly. The snow did come in, and it was snowing constantly for a couple of days preceding, which just means the snow underfoot is really, obviously the fresh snow is soft, but then that creates a little blanket on the top of the older snow, which is the hard injected piece that we like to race on in World Cup. But with all that soft snow coming down, it just meant they didn't have time to prep the piste after Saturday's race to make it good for race 2 on Sunday. They saw that they had a little break in the weather window on Saturday afternoon, so they gave themselves a bit of an extra, on Sunday afternoon, so they gave themselves a bit more of a time to get that piece back in really good nick, because they'd given themselves that extra day in the calendar just in case, and thankfully they did.
Yeah, and great work from the piece guys and everyone there.
Did really well.
It's amazing what comes into it when you have to organise it. Everybody thinks people just turn up to ski, you know?
That's all I ever do.
You just have some piece passions. Anyway, let's move on to the podium for the first race. So we had third. We had someone back from the dreaded COVID positive test, Odermatt. Great to see him back. He missed out on the parallels.
Yeah.
How did he do coming back from, I guess from a psychological point of view, it's a bit difficult to get back into it.
Yeah.
He got taken out, then back in. I guess he spent 14 days isolation.
Something like that. So it was. He came back like he wasn't, had no issues. But I was chatting to one of his teammates, Justin Mauricio, and he was saying that he felt pretty ill over that period, and so they did have symptoms.
Yeah.
But straight back on the podium. He
unbelievable.
And he ended up leading the giant slalom standings as well after that.
Yeah.
So he missed the parallel, which didn't count for giant slalom standings.
There it is.
Yeah, thank you. And he skied really well, very smooth, really, really tricky conditions, which we'll go into shortly. But he just had a real subtlety underneath his feet, and sort of fearless that you tend to see from the younger racers.
And it was great to have him back on the podium.
Yeah. A big name to miss.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah. Second, we had the leader from the first run, which was Kranjček.
Yeah.
Great. He was consistent. He was good.
Yeah. He took advantage on the first run. He had sort of bib 5. He was really smooth. He's got a really lovely style anyway. This sort of well-positioned middle of the ski. He gets great separation all the time. He's a beautiful skier to watch. And he was just metronomic. He was really smooth, didn't make too many mistakes, just didn't quite have the fire on the second run, took his foot off the gas potentially, but not on purpose, but it just ended up happening when you skied with 30 guys down that second run and the bumps and ruts are starting.
And he wasn't that far away, really, if you look at the numbers.
12 ollies.
Exactly. It's not a lot in the grand scheme of things, so, taking your foot off the gas, it's all in context, right?
Exactly.
So then we come to the absolute charge of, I'm going to say the weekend, and we'll come on to that later on, but, Zubcic, unbelievable.
Yeah.
To first.
Yeah, he really did put down a second run charge, and he is sort of becoming known for being like the king of the soft conditions. He won his first ever World Cup back in Japan at the end of last season. I think it was February-ish, can't remember the exact date, in terrible conditions out there, and he took his first win. And then again, he's just so smooth. His skis don't come off the ground. We're talking really bumpy conditions. Every single metre of that snow is different every single time. So you have to have this real subtlety of feeling, being able to adapt to what's happening underneath you, and he just rode every single bump. He was super smooth, and he just charged, and he built the pressure really in this really wide sort of power arc. You can't put the power down in a really short, sharp position because the ski will just give way. So he was just bending up that ski so early in the turn, riding through all the little ruts and bumps.
And that takes talent. And skill, maybe you should be skiing powder instead, right? Anyway, should we dive in to see how he did it?
Yeah, let's have a look.
Let's go.
Filip Zubcic, the man of the first day, absolute second run charge. You can see he's in 6th place after this first run, and he goes at this second run like a man possessed. He is so smooth in these conditions. Bearing in mind you've had 20 or 25 odd people skiing down here, so the snow's not as hard as it normally is. The ruts and bumps are forming. There's flat light, you can't really see too much down there. But just watch how smooth he's able to put the power down. He just got projected up into the air, nice and solid on that outside foot. Back seat a little bit, projected into the air, lands, and just keep an eye on how good this arc is, even when that initiation phase is compromised. Boom, straight in there, lovely and smooth, so aggressive. This gate caught a few people out. Look at that separation through this outside ski turn. Lovely rolling on through that power phase. And it was just a joy to watch. He was getting bounced around with his upper body, but it just didn't correlate down to what was happening with his feet. Gets the power down really early. We're talking about it in the bit just before we've come onto the video, about how long his power phase is. And what I'm basically talking about there is, let's see if we can find a good video shot here, is that the minute he starts to get an edge angle, he's building pressure. So let's find one where he isn't getting pinged into the air. Here, this will be a good one. So he rolls up here, so he finishes this turn, the hips nice and high, hips nice and forward, and up here he's already starting to put pressure on. He may be pointing his skis away from where he's actually wanting to go, but that's about having trust in that first phase, which is up here, that when you do press the ski, it actually then will bring it round and end up coming in here in a really smooth, powerful arc. And having power down at the start of the turn means that when you do start to hit the ruts and bumps, the ski's already carving through there, and that's exactly what happened there. You can see how tricky the conditions is. Look at this, pinches the line, decides he's going to go straight through this gate. He practically shins it. He does shin it, and that is a guy trying to keep inside the ruts and bumps on the ragged edge, and it paid off for him. He was just so smooth, so calm. Anytime he got out of position, the feet didn't falter. And this was Zubcic, the man of the hour. Day one, race one. Nice one.
Okay, let's move on to today's race, which we've literally just been watching.
Yeah.
It was a really, really good race. I mean, the weather came in to play a massive part.
Yeah.
If you guys didn't watch it, so the first run, a little bit of snow. Between the two runs, that's when it started snowing. Yeah. Now, explain, as a former World Cup racer, explain how that can affect the leaders, and then from run one, but then also how it can be a benefit to those slightly further down who are starting earlier.
Yeah. So actually the first run looked great. I was woke up this morning, first run on, and it was looked like it was going to be a perfect day for racing. Great decision to move the start and all that sort of stuff. It looked great, and then the snow started coming. It just means that the guys, so it got progressively worse. So the 30th runner, so the guy that was leading after the first run, had the worst conditions, which, ski racing, that's how it goes. So the guys at the front of the field, so from 30th, the guys going early in that second run, meant that they had great conditions, a real chance to sort of take advantage of this early bib. But at the same time, the early bib means a bit of fresh snow on the track, because obviously nobody's skied down it yet. So it's...
And with that, you mean it's a bit slower with the fresh snow, but also it gets difficult because of ruts.
Yeah. So the rutted, exactly. So rutted conditions make the course slow, make it more tricky for the faster guys that are going later in the second run. But also the very first guys are skiing fresh tracks, which is like powder snow is not as quick as ice.
No.
So
it's a balance there that kind of needs to be managed, which kind of leads us really nicely on to third place. My charge of the weekend. Yeah. Zubcic, who went from 21st, and again, I mean, he is definitely the king of soft snow, right, on
Yeah,
the World
yeah,
Cup circuit right
yeah.
now. He went from 21st to 3rd.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
Yeah, he obviously had the fire underneath him. Yesterday's winner, or the first Saturday's winner, found himself in 21st. Not that far off. The second run was very stacked. It was, I think, a couple of, not even 2 seconds, 1.8 I think it was, between 30th and 1st. So he was in 21st, had it all to do, and he just had that fire underneath him, and he just ripped. He went back to that style, nice and smooth, calm, long power phase through the turn, and ended up on the podium. It looked like he was going to.
I honestly thought he would do it, and I thought this is going to be great content for us.
Yeah, he was only 200ths off second as well. So yeah.
And as you've said in the video when you were analysing him, that's it all shows in the way that he skis.
It does, yeah.
Moving on to one of my favourite skiers on the circuit, Tommy Ford. He took second. He skied really nicely. Again, I mean, I really liked his consistent way through the whole course.
Yeah, experience really played its part, I think, in Tommy Ford's race. He's now 31. He's been around the World Cup for quite a long time. He's so relaxed he's almost lying down.
Yeah.
That actually, I think, played into his hands today because you needed that subtlety underfoot. And so, he only just took it by 200ths over Odermatt into that second place. But it's nice to see him back. He struggled towards most of last winter to find some form, and second race weekend for giant slalom, proper giant slalom, and he's back on the podium. So good day for the US team.
And it's interesting you said about being subtle on soft snow, because I think anyone who's watching this who skis knows how the difference between skiing, if you're on holiday or anything like that, skiing on ice, skiing on soft snow, there's a real difference in how to ski it.
Absolutely.
And that's how these athletes, regardless of if you're an amateur or if you're a professional, it makes count.
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't really matter. We race the World Cup in the conditions that are there. So you have to be good in the soft stuff. You have to be good on bulletproof ice. You have to be good on man-made. You have to be good on steeps, flats, rolls, whatever it is, fog. You have to be good at it all.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and to say someone who is great, I mean, Odermatt. So he took the win. Yeah. First GS win of his career, which genuinely surprised me.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it, when you think about Odermatt?
He's been around a long time.
You feel like he's won multiple World Cups. That's only his second ever World Cup win. The other one came in Super G.
Yeah.
So his first ever World Cup giant slalom victory. It's the Swiss team's first World Cup victory in nearly 10 years.
Last one was Janka.
Yeah, 2011.
Unbelievable.
So
they must be so happy, relieved, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. Just a bit of the monkey off the back. I don't think it would have been something that played on their minds too much, but it's certainly something that just, they'll take the positives from that, and obviously that'll give them a nice boost. And Odermatt, 23 years old, and becoming one of the first names on the sheet when you're looking at winners.
Yeah.
In most World Cup events now as well. He's handy on the speed skis, as we've already seen.
He is, and maybe one to think about when you're going for the Predictor League.
Yeah, and he smashed it. 0.73, nearly won by a second. So the guy is absolutely on fire. Anybody that picked him on the Predictions League, he did an absolute blinder. Although Zubcic, I think, if you picked him, that's a real.
That's insider. You should put money on that.
Noel Baxter, he picked
really?
him. Yeah,
and I hope Noel put some money on that.
I've had a few gloating messages like, who knows this stuff.
What was the odds on that? That was small.
Long.
Anyway, let's have a look at how Odermatt did it.
Let's do it. And here is that Marco Odermatt winning run. He was held for over a minute after the second place racer went down, so it was really testing his mettle standing in the start gate, never having won a giant slalom World Cup before, so the man was put under all sorts of pressure. He had 0.43 of a second out of the start gate, but look how high he ends up being up here. This is the turn. He carried so much speed. He came out of here, he set up, he sacrificed a bit of line by coming all the way up here instead of cutting a more direct line down here. But what it did do is it meant that he bent up the ski nice and early in the turn. We'll show you when you get a little bit lower through it, and then absolutely put the hammer on the ski, and he just ended up taking so much more speed through here, just really, really high, nice and aggressive over on the outside edge when he gets the power down, really smooth application, and just carried so much more speed across this mini flat. That's where he picks up nearly 6/10 advantage out of that opening section, and then really smooth down here. Just one little moment after this is a whopper of a turn. Look at that. So cool, great separation. He does have a bit of a slant towards the inside, and if you're talking about picture perfect technique, you'd want that further across, you'd want that going straight from shoulder here and hips here. But one, you're on the flats, so you don't need quite as much, but also when you've got all that force acting in this direction, excuse the funky arrows, when you've got them pointing in this direction, you just don't need quite so much because all of that pressure is coming over that outside ski. And he has got some separation, he's not totally inside, so he does just as much as he needs. Comes up into this next turn, and this would have had his heart in the mouth for a moment here. Looks great, loses pressure on the outside ski. You can see that little bit of white snow puffing up off that inside ski. But that core strength was what got him out of there. So loses slightly, good core strength, pulls himself back up onto that outside foot and carries on. But you can see how hard the guy works to keep those shoulders facing down the hill, keep that upper body moving through just to help keep the weight on the tips of those skis. This is where we saw a few racers get caught out across this blind roll. But no such issues for Odermatt. Really smooth, really calm. Again, another racer. And this was key through this next section, is when you do get bounced around, and you will get bounced around in these bumpy conditions, you just have to try and make it so that the actual skis still are carving smooth and clean. You don't see the skis going sideways whatsoever. Look how hard he's working again to get that shoulder in front. There's the shoulder here, in front of his knees, in front of his toes. So you've got a slight diagonal angle backwards, and that's what you need when you're looking at trying to keep everything pushing further forward and getting that pressure on early in the turn. So smooth, so high. At this point, he would have been able to feel that he'd had a decent run, and he just needed to keep it error-free into the finish. Cool, calm and collected on the day. Marco Odermatt extends his lead in the giant slalom standings, and there you go, maiden GS victory in the bag.
Okay, great. Let's move on to the next race. Where are we going?
We are in Val d'Isère for the men's, which are on the speed skis finally.
Yes! Now we're talking.
Yeah, so the men are racing downhill on Saturday, Super G on Sunday. Downhill training runs start this coming Wednesday, so it's a real quick turnaround. There is now enough snow in Val d'Isère, so we are in the French Alps, which is going to be awesome. And the ladies are also in France. They're over in Courchevel racing another double GS Saturday and Sunday, so it will be interesting to see how they get on after a weekend off.
Absolutely. Do you think that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing? Do you think they'll be recovered, or do you want that momentum of carrying on?
I think some will want that momentum, especially having travelled there, not got a race, and then having to travel back across to France again. The big winner, Schifrin, chose to sit out this weekend's racing because she wanted to concentrate on tech. She hadn't had her speed skis on. She's done it so many times before. She's got a crystal ball. I think I'd be pulling out if she decided that if she's not going to race.
Yeah.
Then I think the amount of times that she ends up calling it right, and she didn't travel, nobody's raced, and she's going to be sitting pretty ready for
which is
GS.
Perfect. Great segue into the Predictor League, which maybe that's the tip. Maybe that is a tip to consider. Yeah. Now, if you let everyone know, how do you enter the Predictor League and what can you win? Yeah, so join us on the Predictor League. So find us on any of your social media channels, search for the Ski Racing Podcast. The Predictor League is every single week. All you have to do is send us in your predictions for the win for each of the World Cups. You get 5 points if your prediction comes first, 3 points if they come second, and 1 point if they come third. So we've got quite a few people on there, but I've only got 4 points. And Ben, podcast expert, has only got 3 points. And I'm beating you both, so... Yeah, we won't. We'll keep... We'll cut that bit out. So if you want to join up, that's all you have to do. You can win any Powderhound gear. So we are sponsored by a really cool mountain brand called Powderhound, and you can find them powderhound.london. For any of your Christmas needs, any gifts you want, they do loads of really nice mugs and tableware, egg cups. And I think there's a face mask, and there's a promo code which we'll put down here. Yeah, SkiPod10. SkiPod10 for your discount code. But that is all we got time for. Thank you very much to Ski Bartlett's for hosting us in today's episode, as well as if you want to keep up to date with any of the World Cup action, you can find it on Eurosport, and you can download the Eurosport Player to keep up to date. Tord, thank you very much. No worries. Until next time, goodbye for now.